This video is sponsored by the Ridge Wallet. I bought a broken Copper Edition PS4 controller on eBay for $24.99. Let's see if I can fix it. First things first, let's get it out of the box. Now let's take a look and see what I got. They said that it didn't power on at all, so I'm gonna get it plugged in and see what it does. I'm gonna be using a USB volt and amp meter to see if there's any power going into the controller. I did see it jump up to 0.99 amps. There we go. 1 amp, still no light on the bottom of the controller though, even with that. So I already assumed that there's a problem with this charge port down here, just because you can see when I wiggle it, the charging amps go up and down. So that's my immediate suspicion. I gotta get this thing apart, then we can see if that's truly the problem. All the parts and tools I'm using today will be linked down in the description below. Taking a look at the screws on the bottom of the DualShock 4. This screw is actually almost stripped out already, so I'm gonna have to be real careful with this. I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to get this out without using some sort of special tool, or in worst case scenario, I'll have to drill it out. But what I'm gonna do is put a lot of pressure on it and see if I can twist it out. There we go. Okay, got it. So that will want to replace once we get this thing fixed and put back together. Now I just got to get the rest of the screws out. They shouldn't be a problem as none of the other ones are messed up. So get those out and then we'll get this back cover off. So really the best way to get these apart is get a pry tool down in here and pry it all off carefully. But usually what I do is I just brute force it. I just take this and just pull it all apart because, you know, if it's not broke, I'll fix it till it is. So here we go. There we go. Okay, so first thing we want to make sure is there's no liquid damage, and I don't see any at all. Let's go ahead and pull this part out. Now, while I'm in here, I'm going to clean up all these buttons and everything, just make sure that's all in good working condition. Let's check out the motherboard a little bit more. Got some junk around the speakers, which is normal. These all actually look pretty good so far. It's pretty dirty in here. Whoa, what do we have here? It looks like somebody must have been in this already. I'll show you why. This screw right here is not even screwed into anything. So that screw normally goes into this piece on the bottom housing. It was just in there loose, so I'm assuming that means somebody else has been in this trying to fix it, but I'm sure we'll find that out soon enough. So now the part we really need to look at. A lot of times this little board in here goes bad, so that's gonna be the first thing I wanna check and replace is that board. And then if that's not the problem, then we'll have to start looking at the motherboard. So to do that, I'm gonna remove this white piece, then this clear plastic piece, and then we can get down at the charge port. By the way, this is where you would change out this lens or the LED if you were planning to do that on your controller. Really not too hard of a job, but that's how you do it. Then we have one screw that holds this charge board in. And just looking at the condition of the port, it actually doesn't look too bad. The pins in there seem like they could be a little messed up, but I'm gonna plug this back in so we can see how loose of a fit this is. Here you can see at least part of the problem is that this outer metal piece has been bent a little bit, and that just makes a really loose connection for these pins. So that's definitely part of the problem. So I'm definitely gonna replace this board, which we'll put a new port on, and then we'll see if it works after that. So I have this non-working charge board, and I have this controller all torn apart. Now I do have this known good charge port. I'm gonna plug this one in and then see if it works. This will verify if it's just the charge port or if there's more going on the controller than just the charge port. Even with the battery unplugged on these, the light will still come on if it's working. So I'm gonna plug it in, let's see if the light comes on. This is the LED that should be coming on right now. It's clearly not. So there's definitely more of a problem on this motherboard than just the charge port. Let me get the known good motherboard so you can see what I mean. Let's plug that in. And there you go. We have a light. Now, just out of curiosity, let's see if this old charge port is good or bad, so we know for sure. The cable still fits in there loose, so I probably will still replace this. But just out of curiosity, I want to see if it is totally bad or not. And it's not. That light actually comes on and works with this charge port, but you can see it definitely, whenever I wiggle the cable, that light goes on and off. So this charge port is for sure bad. So now I know that there is also something else wrong on this motherboard. Right away, I suspect this chip, as looking at these components, I can't see anything bad. I would have to measure them to really know for sure, but this chip connects directly to the charge port via this big line right here that you can see. So I suspect this is probably bad. There's also another small chip on the back though, that also could be a problem. So I suspect this chip is likely faulty, so I'm gonna replace that first, and then we'll see if that fixes it. This video is brought to you by the Ridge Wallet. It's light, sleek, and industrial. It doesn't fold or awkwardly bulge in your back pocket. It's actually designed to fit easily in your front pocket, and it's seriously changed my whole pocket situation. Most people are still carrying around wallets designed in the 90s, carrying around old gift cards and receipts, but the Ridge Wallet can change all of that. I really love it, but don't take my word for it. There's over 30,000 5-star reviews. As you guys know on this channel, I love to take things apart. One of my favorite things about this Ridge wallet is I can actually take it apart. It actually even comes with extra screws right in the box. I can remove this money clip if I'd like to, or I can add another money clip on the front of the wallet as well. Another thing I love is that the Ridge wallet is made with RFID blocking technology that protects me from digital pocket pickers. That's not something I had to think about back when I bought my first wallet, but it's certainly something I have to think about now. Get 10% off today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to ridge.com/TronicsFix. That's ridge.com/TronicsFix and use the code TronicsFix at checkout. The top link in the description will take you right there. So here we have the good motherboard and the bad motherboard. I'm gonna take the chip off of the good motherboard and put it onto the bad motherboard. The liquid I'm gonna be putting on the solder joints of these chips is called flux, and it helps the solder flow. And then I'll be using a hot air soldering station to remove the chip and put the new chip on. All right, so now we have the good chip on the bad motherboard. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit, then we'll plug it in and see if it works. A word of caution and proof that even people like me with a lot of experience make mistakes. You notice how in the first part of the video I didn't have all this heat resistant tape? Well, I put it on there because it sorta melted some stuff. So you can see these buttons are just totally in the wrong spot. Let me get this off so you can see better. There we go, now you can get a good look at it. See how that's just totally melted. These buttons are supposed to be straight up and down, and they're definitely not. Luckily, I do have more mid-frames with these, so it's not that big of a deal. Just a note, if you try anything like this yourself, make sure and cover all of the sensitive plastic parts. And now, the moment of truth. Do you think it's gonna work? I hope it is. Yes. There we go, we have the light. That means that most likely it's all working correctly. I still need to get the battery in. I gotta clean it all up and then put it back together and then just retest everything, because for all I know, the joysticks don't work or they drift or something like that. So I gotta get all that checked out and then I can go from there. Now that we have the rumble motors soldered back onto the motherboard, I'm gonna get the copper controller case all cleaned up, and then we can put it back in and test it. I think I found the main problem. As you can see, this has all sorts of nasty, sticky stuff along with all of these buttonholes, and then even the buttons themselves just have all sorts of gross finger jam. I don't even want to know what that is. That's disgusting, so I need to clean this all up really well, and then we can get it back together and test it. I'm really glad I took this all apart because it would not have worked even after replacing that charge chip on the motherboard. All of that just came out of the little grooves and stuff on that controller. That's disgusting. Okay, we've got basically this entire thing either cleaned or replaced. Now we know the motherboard is working, we know all the buttons and everything are clean. Now it's time to put it all back together, and then we'll see if it works. And there we go, we have it all back together. Let's see how it looks. So much cleaner. It looks so much better. Let's check the buttons. Buttons all feel really good. So now it's time to plug it in and see if it works. And there we go, we have a yellow light on the controller. That means the controller's charging, which means we did our job here and this one is fixed. And now we have a beautiful Copper Edition PS4 controller. Thank you to Ridge Wallet for sponsoring this video. I'll put a link up on the screen for more controller videos that I think you might like. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good one.